This is City Focus, the podcast from the League of Oregon Cities, where we explore the issues that matter to cities across Oregon.
Welcome to City Focus. In this episode, Troutdale Mayor Randy Lauer joins us for a conversation about being a new mayor during this time of COVID lockdowns, wildfires, and ice storms, to name just a few of the recent challenges that we've all had to grapple with. He shares what he's doing for his city to support citizens and businesses and what he sees for the future of Troutdale. Welcome to City Focus, Troutdale Mayor Randy Lauer.
Thanks, Denise. I appreciate your time.
It's good to have you. It's your first appearance on the City Focus podcast, so it's very nice to have you. You're a new mayor, and you became mayor at a very interesting time. First of all, tell us a little bit about you and then your city, and then I want to get into kind of what some of the challenges and good things that have been during your new term as mayor.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm born and raised in East County. I was raised in Gresham my whole life. East County runs through my blood. My family is ingrained in the history of Gresham and Troutdale. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, and all my brothers and sisters graduated from Gresham High School. So, we go back 100+ years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my grandparents worked at Reynolds Aluminum Plant. They had homes in Wood Village in the Reynolds Aluminum Plant housing facility there a long time ago. My grandparents also owned a house in Troutdale, one of the original houses up off Hensley that's still standing today. Yeah, it's not a historical house because they did a lot of updates and renovations. So it changed drastically of what it looks like now compared to what it looked like then. So, but the history is still there, and it's something that I'm very proud of, and something that I tried to bring as a city councilor, now the mayor of Troutdale. So, like I said, East County is in my blood.
So that's interesting. We've talked to a couple of mayors from smaller cities, and lifelong residents. A lot of them grew up there, and I think I think that was part of wanting to give back to their city, to serve, because it gave so much to them.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think also it's just when you spend so much time, your family spends so much time in the same place, you become a part of that community. And so, by nature, I came to a point in my life where I wanted to give back to my community instead of continuously taking from it. Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I started this whole quote unquote, I know no one can see me, quote unquote, career path.
Throwing up air quotes. Okay. So now, granted, you started as a city councilor and you now elected mayor. Do you have a day job?
I do have a day job. So what I've spent the last 17 years of my life doing, actually my whole adult life pretty much, is I've worked as a public utility worker in the drinking water industry. So I started my career in the City of Portland Water Bureau, went from there to actually the City of Troutdale Public Works Department and worked there for a few years. And I'm currently at the City of Wood Village Public Works Department as the crew leader for their drinking water and sanitary sewer program. So I've done that for a long time. It's all I know. I know how to operate a shovel, and that's pretty much it. And I'm very happy about that. It's provided a lot of security for my family, and also just another way for me to give back to the community that I live in and serve.
Wow, that's great. So public service kind of in the day job as well. Pretty well rounded that way. So now, when were you first elected to city council?
So I first ran for city council. Actually, there's a little bit of a history there. So I applied for the vacant seat left open by then city councilor Eric Anderson. He left in 2015 to attend some family medical emergencies, and he just didn't have the time, didn't have the bandwidth to do both. And so he vacated a seat, and I applied for the opening. I can't remember how many applicants there were, but there was a lot. There was at least, I want to say 10, close to 10 applicants. And I lost, obviously. It was up for council appointment, and I lost to ex-councilor Corey Brooks. So in 2016, during the election, I decided to run for city council for the same seat, and ended up winning the city council seat against Corey Brooks by a total of 3 votes.
Oh,
3
my
whole
gosh.
votes.
3 votes. And in the old, every vote matters. Yes, it does.
I learned that. I learned that. I learned that that is a very true statement, and to never take it for granted. Every vote matters. When you feel like your vote doesn't count, it
Yeah,
very much counts, especially in local elections. So,
exactly,
um,
exactly.
yeah, and it was a different time back then. 2016 seems like a lifetime ago.
Doesn't it? I
things
know.
things were a lot happier.
I know, I know. Well, speaking of happy, granted, we've got some challenges, which we will talk about a little bit later on, but there's also a lot of good stuff. And, I don't want to focus on negative things. We've had a very rough year and couple of months here, but you've been out there publicly letting people know that there's really some good stuff going on in Troutdale. So let's talk a little bit about some of those things that you've noticed and decided to highlight for folks.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I decided to run for mayor was exactly that, was because of the good things that were coming down the pipeline at the time, at the end of my term as councilor. So one of the really great things that we've been working on for a long time in the city of Troutdale is something we've come to call the Confluence. It's our urban renewal area. It was the site of the old wastewater treatment plant. It was vacant for almost 20 years, sitting, dilapidating, just a blight on our community. And one of the things that I really wanted to focus on as a new city councilor and now as the new mayor of Troutdale was to get us to a point where we can now get this URA, get the Confluence ready for primetime development, something that transcends us right now, where we're at right now in 2021, and something that that our family, our kids, our grandkids will be able to enjoy 20, 40 years from now. This was just a fledgling program when around the middle and end of my counselor term, and we're really making headway on it. And I'm so excited as to where we're going with this piece of land that we're so fortunate to have. So we're focusing on it. We're diving head first, and we're giving it all we got to make sure we give Troutdale something special for the future.
So what's happening with the Troutdale Airport?
So we had last night at our council meeting, we actually had a really good update from the Port of Portland. They went ahead and just spoke so heavily on the economic impact that the airport has on Troutdale and the investment that they're willing to put into it. We have a lot of vacant lots, and I say vacant. There's a lot of development taking place, just nothing finalized yet. With partners like Bonneville Power, wholesale grocers. We have a lot of interests in the lots that we have there, and just to have the port come and talk to us and let us know that the investments that they plan on making are still going forward regardless of their economic downturn, mainly from PDX, Portland International Airport. Them still willing to invest in our little airport just means so much. It's going to bring so many jobs. It's going to bring so many opportunities for people that want to utilize the services at Troutdale Airport. And specifically, even though the whole economy downturn that really affected everybody and affected the Port of Portland as well, we've seen an uptick in the helicopter training program that we have at the Troutdale Airport. So, while everything else kind of stagnated and fell off, the helicopter training program took off, pun intended, took off high into the sky and provided a lot of opportunities for people that are looking to become commercial helicopter pilots. So, looking to grow that program and just really dive in and invest a bunch so we can get some more jobs and just opportunities for people out here in East County. And it was nice to hear that from the Port of Portland, that they're still thinking of Troutdale.
Yeah, very, very nice. Well, that is some good stuff going on. Those are positive things. I know we kind of probably switch gears a little bit. This has been also a challenging year. This has been a year where communities, big and small, have grappled with things that I don't think anybody ever saw on the horizon, never thought we'd have to deal with. I know in conversations with other mayors, it's just been, trying to just keep track of time sometimes has been challenging because, the whole routine has been disrupted. So, you were a new mayor in all of this. What's been your experience with the COVID lockdowns?
As you can imagine, and I'm sure as other electeds have told you that's a loaded question.
Yep, it is.
It is. but it's it's one that we're trying to answer
Yeah.
every single day. So in the beginning we understood what the ask was. We
Mhm.
understood what the impacts were, and we understood what the potential for just complete harm that this virus had on everybody. And we did our part. Troutdale did our part. We worked really closely with our small businesses that we're so fortunate to have in our downtown, in our main street, and just all around Troutdale in general. To As soon as we got federal CARES money, we pumped it right out the door. We
Yeah.
got it into everybody's hands as quickly as we possibly could, just short of knocking on their doors and dumping off a check in their lap.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so, like I said, we did our part in the beginning, when it seemed like we had no other option. And as these restrictions and as these lockdowns continued, it just seemed like there was no real guidance. There was no really real guiding light that was determining where these restrictions and lockdowns were coming from. And in another career that I have, my wife and I own a small business in Gresham. We own a CrossFit gym, and we've
Okay.
owned it going on 10 years now. And aside from restaurants or event venues, gyms are one of the hardest impacted businesses during these last 15 months. And
Hmm.
you know, to be told that we can't operate, that we have to shut down, or that we have to restrict 75% occupancy and have, I think one of the least or the last numbers was 25 square feet per person, regardless of facility. It just didn't, without numbers coming in saying that all these cases are coming from gyms or even restaurants for that matter.
Hmm.
It was hard to grab onto those restrictions and grab onto that leadership that the governor was really lacking, and just agree to shut down small business. And so, from a civic standpoint, from a community leader standpoint, I was trying to be vocal, and I was trying to support our small businesses and our communities and our residents by asking them to continue to be safe, asking them to continue to wear a mask when they go into businesses that are luckily still open,
Hmm.
continue to physically distance. But at the same time, we need to get to a point where we're in charge of our own destiny, that each business, each legal and lawful business, is in charge of its own outcome. And we're capable and mature adults. We really are.
Hmm.
Troutdale is a wonderful community. um, we just wanted to be treated as such. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
The news that came down yesterday from the governor's office and from OHA, stating that once we get to 70% vaccination, that she'll lift the majority of our restrictions. And in that same news article saying that Multnomah County is kind of leading the charge there at 63% vaccination rate. Once we get to 65, we'll be able to evaluate those restrictions. That's well and good, but the damage is done. I
Yeah.
think the economic downturn, the just destruction of our economies is going to be long lasting, way longer than any of these restrictions that will ever last. And so, we as elected leaders and community members, we need to try to rally around those that need help. We need to try and get programs enacted and started in our communities to help these businesses not only survive the shutdowns and survive the restrictions, but to also survive what's coming in the next few years because of all these restrictions. So focusing on that, like you said, focusing on the positive. It's easy to
Hmm.
get sucked into the negative. It's
Yeah.
easy to get sucked into the mindset of, well, I have no control over this, so I'm just going to sit and do nothing. We can still be vocal, and we can still show support, and at the very least, just lend an ear.
So one of the common threads I'm hearing in these conversations, Mayor, is the wanting local control. Home rule is something that is very important to a lot of cities. I think every city in Oregon. In your opinion, who is best to make decisions for the city of Troutdale and her citizens and her businesses?
Yeah, I think, any one person that has that much control over anything has a difficult job. The governor has a difficult job. Um, Home rule is very important, especially for communities like Troutdale. Troutdale is it identifies with itself so strongly that it doesn't take kindly to other people telling us what to do. And so the difficult thing with also being a small town is we have many jurisdictions that kind of run and operate things inside of our city borders. And so, along the lines of the same thing with the governor having an impossible job, I don't think it's necessarily 100% right for a mayor to have say over everything that happens in their city as well. So
Okay.
by advocating for home rule, I'm not necessarily advocating for the mayor to have end all be all say as to what happens in their community during a pandemic. That needs to fall on the group instead of the one. And so if that means city councils take these up city by city, or if this means that it needs to be something county by county and have the county commissioners debate this for each individual county, I'm more in support of that, just because the problem with these restrictions and lockdowns, I mean, I'm sure the cities in Eastern Oregon and Southern Oregon are feeling these restrictions far greater than many of the other cities are, maybe except for some that are in Multnomah County. But it just seems like a blanket one answer response for everything happening in the whole entire state is just not a good way to go about this. And so any more local control that we can get in future situations like what we've dealt with over the past 15 months is only going to make it better. And I think the more voices we have echoing what our residents are saying and sticking up for the small businesses that we're so lucky to have, I think is more important than having one person tell the whole entire state of Oregon what they can and cannot do. So home rule is very important to me, and it's something that I'm hoping we can get a better handle on coming out of 2021 and going into the future.
All right. Well, there's, a lot of challenges that have been faced. You've echoed what some of your colleagues, and there's some ones that are unique to you, but we're now kind of well into 2021, and we are still quite a bit restricted with we're going to be opening up a little bit more. But what do you see moving forward into 2021 and beyond for the future of Troutdale, for the future of Oregon? Are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. I wouldn't be in this job if I wasn't an optimistic person. So, like I said, as negative as a lot of things have been over these past few months, we have a lot of positive ahead of us. So, I think once many of the restrictions are lifted, once our businesses are open up more fully, once we just get people outside enjoying the summer weather that we're so lucky to have out here in Oregon, I think optimism is going to grow. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the things that we're doing to help our neighbors. I'm excited for the things that we're doing to help our businesses. I'm excited for the development that's happening in Troutdale. We just finalized our town center plan, which really, it encompasses the development of Troutdale for the next 20 years.
Oh,
it's
wow.
It's a guiding document. It's a living document that many citizens worked on for almost 4 years, 3.5 years. And we finalized it last night, adopted it as a unanimous vote. And I'm excited that we finally get on the way of getting some really great visionary type developments in 12 of our opportunity zones that we're lucky to have here in Troutdale. And I think, once we get the ball rolling, and once we get these restrictions lifted, and even before then, I think it's going to be a really great time this summer and going into the fall here in Oregon. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the change. I'm excited for everybody getting as healthy as they can. And I'm excited for everybody just returning to being good neighbors and having good conversation. And so, I think we can get through anything. The good thing about being residents of East County and Troutdale in particular, we're pretty resilient. We have the east wind that knocks at us almost every single day, and we don't fall down. So it's made us steadfast. And I know we can get through that, and I know we can get through this as well.
I think that's a great, positive, optimistic note to end on. You showed some good information. It's good to talk to you, Mayor. The city of Troutdale sounds, I have driven through it. I haven't spent a whole lot of time there. As I talk and meet with the different mayors from around the state, it just whets my appetite and piques my interest to go visit your cities and spend some time in them and get to know the cities.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure again. We've been talking with Troutdale Mayor Randy Lauer. Mayor, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down and talk with us and share your obvious love for the city of Troutdale.
Absolutely, Denise. It was my pleasure. And anytime you want to have a conversation with better internet connection on my part, I'm more than happy to do it.
Yeah, we had some challenge. It must have been that east wind. Thanks,
you.
Mayor. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You as well.
Thanks for listening to this episode of City Focus. We will be talking with more mayors from across our state to hear their stories and how their communities are faring as we move forward into 2021 and beyond. If you're a mayor or city councilor from Oregon and would like to share your city's story on the podcast, send me an email at cityfocus@orcities.org.